Tonight's the annual Louisiana Democratic Party Jefferson-Jackson Dinner, and we're really excited. We've got two phenomenal governors from the state of Michigan and Pennsylvania, Governor Jennifer Granholm and Governor Ed Rendell, who are going to be our keynote speakers and powering us up and getting us ready for the election in the fall. Of course, the star of the show is, as always, our own Senior Senator Mary Landrieu, who's done so much for the state of Louisiana in making sure that jobs are being created, we can protect health care and give access to health care, affordable health care to so many Louisiana families, and then also educational opportunities. Senator Landrieu is always fighting for us, and there's just something about Mary. There's something about Mary that makes folks want to really gear up and get ready to send her back to Washington to fight for us. She's disappointed too that a lot is not happening in Washington, and we need her strong voice there. But tonight is a celebration. We've got Democrats from all over the state that are here celebrating, galvanizing, getting energized for the election so that we can make good things happen in the fall. This is a long-standing Democratic Party event. It's our critical fundraising event, but it's also the opportunity for Democrats statewide. So we have a lot of the Democratic parish committees that come together under the umbrella of the state party. And I chair the Louisiana State Democratic Party, at the Democratic State Central Committee, and all of those parish committees have the opportunity, not all the time, to come together. And so it's, in some level, a celebration, but also a great fundraiser. It's the biggest fundraiser that we hold annually, and it's just a celebration.
We're thrilled to have Governor Rendell, former governor of Pennsylvania, and Governor Jennifer Granholm from Michigan, joining us, two outstanding leaders for the country and for their individual states. So we've got over 1,000 people gathered, and just showing, that we've got a great, growing Democratic Party in Louisiana.
Mary's done great things in energy. She's probably the leading person in the Congress on energy and has really helped the country. And what I love about Mary is she's all in. She's for gas and oil, she's for the Keystone Pipeline, so am I. But she also understands that we've got to develop our renewable energy. So she's for the expansion of wind and solar.
I support Mary because she is a total champion for working people. We were just in a meeting and she was completely fired up about the fact that Governor Jindal, for example, has turned back $16 billion to the federal government because he refuses to insure hundreds of thousands of Louisianans. That's just wrong. I mean, that's just not who we are. She has been a champion for real people. She's been a champion for Louisiana. She doesn't always walk in lockstep with the Democratic Party. She walks in lockstep with Louisianans, and I think that's very important.
She's helped keep the military bases here in Louisiana. She's fought hard to keep college education affordable for the middle class, and the courageous vote that she cast on the universal background checks was a real profile on courage. Not an easy vote to take, although the people of Louisiana surprised everybody. They were for the position that Mary took.
I want people to get fired up. I want people to understand the importance of this race, not just for the nation, but particularly for Louisiana. The clout that she has and the power that the folks in this room have to send her back, it's really important. So I want people to be fired up about it.
It's good for Louisiana. She's the chairman of the Energy Committee, which is very important to our state. Oil and gas is important for about 250,000 jobs and contributes much to our economy. And for that reason alone, people should vote for her.
Okay, and what's next for you?
The United States Congress.
Tonight, we will honor our party's illustrious past, but we will also look forward to the future. Forward, not back. Y'all remember that 2 years ago? Forward, not back. We're looking forward to re-electing who? Exactly. You saw the sign when you walked in. Mary Landrieu this fall, and we're looking forward to re-electing Congressman Cedric Richmond. We're looking forward to some strong campaigns from our congressional candidates. You'll hear from two of them later tonight, Governor Edwin Edwards and Monroe Mayor Jamie Mayo. I can't wait to hear what they have to say. I'm sure they're going to bring it. But I can't help notice that we've got a governor who's running for president. Y'all notice that? That's Bobby Jindal. He's not here tonight. He's in Iowa, thank goodness. All right? We've got a congressman who's running for Senate. He's not here tonight. Who knows where he is? I really don't care. That's Bill Cassidy. And then we've got a senator who's running for governor. That would be our own junior Senator David Vitter. a venerable game of GOP musical chairs. When the music stops, however, when they try to play this musical chair game, when the music stops, I'm looking forward to seeing all three of them without a seat. That's how I play musical chairs, with those guys. Now, you see, our junior senator has the audacity to ask Louisiana voters for a promotion, even though he was rated the least effective member of the U.S. Senate. He didn't even pass one single piece of legislation, not one. He didn't even rename a post office. Everybody can rename a post office. I mean, give me a break. Of course, that's not surprising, though, considering the fact that all of his time he's spent running Bill Cassidy's campaign. He doesn't have time to actually do any work for us in the Senate, the do-nothing Congress, right? And now he's touring the state for his gubernatorial campaign. Good luck with that, Senator Vedder. I really wish you good luck with that campaign. I hope you finally caught up on your homework, because a couple of weeks ago, months ago, when I saw you at the press club in Baton Rouge, you said that you needed to get your homework done, so I hope you caught up on it.
On May 17th of this year, we lost my good friend and our good friend, Bob Odom, who was a lifelong public servant. Born in 1935, he spent a great deal of time there in the agriculture communities. He was a retired lieutenant colonel from the Marine Corps. He spent his time working at the Department of Agriculture and Forestry, and he spent from 1979, when he was elected, until 2008 as the commissioner of the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry, understanding that the only people in Louisiana that he didn't represent were people who didn't eat or didn't wear fiber. So he was a person committed to public service. His family, who joined us tonight, Millie Odom, his wife, and his son Rob, and his daughter-in-law Monique, and his two granddaughters, Taylor Brooke and Bailey, and his daughter Ashley and her children Nolan and Brighton, join us as this party recognizes with a Lifetime Achievement Award someone who truly gave his life to public service for a great deal of time. And I will tell you that when we look back on this, many of you remember the boots and the white hair and the blue eyes as he walked through, but you also remember that he was involved in communities throughout this nation and throughout this state, trying to promote public service and leadership and helping many people get elected throughout this state. There was a period of time that we met some challenges, and he came through those with the support of many of you and with the support of many others who aren't in this room. But he was always committed to public service, and he was always one that we thought about, because outside a couple of songs that may have come before, that Bob Odom jingle is something that many of us grew up with and many of us still recognize. And a couple of us in the room still have it as a ringtone when we need to listen to it. So I want to tell you, when I was younger, I went through the bank in Lake Charles and I noticed a sign, and it said, "A man is a success when he has earned the respect of his fellow man and the love of little children." And tonight, this party, my party, gives an award to Bob Odom for his lifetime achievement for earning the respect of his fellow man and the love of little children. I think we could have Millie Odom, maybe Rob and Ashley.
I know Bob would like to say, thank you so much for this honor. He loved his God, he loved his country, he loved the Marine Corps, and he loved his Democratic Party and always supported all of its endeavors. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful honor.
Fellow Democrats, I'm honored this evening to introduce the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award, Cleo Fields.
Well, let me tell you, when when the chairwoman called me about a couple of weeks ago, and she said, "You will receive the Lifetime Achievement Award." And I said, "Karen, I'm not old enough." But I remember the days I was campaigning as the youngest member of Congress. We elected Patrick Kennedy from Rhode Island, and then we elected Harold Ford Jr. from Tennessee. And then I walked into the office one day, Karen, and my office staff said, "Congressman, guess what? You are no longer the youngest member of Congress." But let me just tell you, it is an honor, Congresswoman, and I call you Congresswoman because I've always looked to you as the leader of our state and certainly of the Democratic Party. Thank you so much for this, this award. And lastly, to our senator. Mary, let me just say, we have to re-elect you to the U.S. Senate, and we have to do it now. And to my congressman, Congressman Richmond, we have to re-elect you to the Congress, and we have to do that now. And lastly, but certainly not least, please, Democrats, let's elect a governor in the state of Louisiana. As Democrats, we have to be tough enough to fight, tender enough to cry, human enough to make mistakes, humble enough to admit them, strong enough to absolve the pain, but resilient enough to bounce back and keep on moving. Let's keep moving, Democrats.
So look, at this time, I asked Ben Jefferson to stay up here. He has no idea what's about to happen. Ben Jefferson has been a mentor to me for many, many years. Gigi and Big Dad, y'all know when I started when I was 18 years old, I ran for my first office in the Louisiana Democratic Party. I served as a delegate in 1988, as a Jefferson-Jackson delegate to the 88 convention after knocking on doors. One of the folks that have stood me, I'm 44 years old right now, along my journey with the Louisiana Democratic Party has been Ben Jefferson. He is the recipient of the Chair's Leadership Award this year. He didn't know that, because if I told him, he would not have accepted it. So that is why he's standing up here with me right now. I just want to say thank you to him, because he has just been a stalwart, and he never fails us as a party. We are one team. We are the Louisiana Democratic Party, and we have real leadership in this guy to my right. And I want to thank him for that. Love you, Ben.
Thank you. I'm probably the only one here who remembers how this party was started. It started back in 1792 when Monroe and Jefferson and Madison got together to form a party to represent working people and farmers and smaller government and fair taxes. That was in 1792. In 1828, when Andrew Jackson was running for president, the name of the party was changed to Democrat. At that time, one of his opponents called him a jackass. And rather than take umbrage to it, he said simply he referred to himself as a donkey during the campaign, and a cartoonist picked up on that, and the emblem of the Democratic Party became the donkey. And I'm very proud of that, because we, the Democrats, have been very involved in the progress and achievements of the American continent that we know. You know, it was Jefferson who purchased the land you sit on today and made it part of the United States of America, fulfilling the manifest destiny, spreading us to the Pacific Ocean. It was Jackson who was elected in 1824 as the first great populist, and I was one of his disciples and still am, because he represented the common folks and believed that government should serve the common folks, as I do. And then along came Wilson, who in 1919 helped sponsor and achieve the passage of the 19th Amendment to give women the voting right that they deserved, and this month will represent the 94th anniversary of that event. He also helped us win the First World War, which killed 14 million people from 28 countries and was supposed to be the war to end all wars. Then Franklin Roosevelt came along and got us out of a depression that we had inherited from a Republican president named Herbert Hoover. But he did more than that. He offered a program of Social Security, which his opponents labeled as socialist and would bankrupt the country. Those same type of people are today embracing it and would not dare say a word against Social Security. And in addition to that, He won World War II for us and died just before the final end of the war, but he was the hero of World War II. And then came Harry Truman, who saved the German Republic from communist domination by the Marshall Plan, and who desegregated the military in the first giant step to bring equal rights to all races in this country. And Truman was the president who recognized the great state of Israel, for which we are thankful today. Followed by the Democrat Kennedy, who proclaimed the right of every citizen in America to be a free citizen with equal rights, and who looked up at the moon and challenged America to find a way to get there, and we did, unfortunately, after he had died. He was followed by the Democrat Johnson, who completed the civil rights program that John F. Kennedy had started, with providing voting rights and other equal opportunities for all Americans. And I, whether you believe it or not, was a member of the Congress in 1965 and 66 and helped get that passed. I was one of 3 Southern congressmen. Hale Boggs from this great city, and I and one other congressman from Georgia were the 3 congressmen from the South who supported the actions. Proud of that. Well, after 3 successive Republican administrations, which brought us 2 undeclared and unfunded wars and deficits every year during their administrations, along came another great Democrat named Bill Clinton, who in the last of his terms had a balanced budget for 4 solid years, the first time in the history of our country. Well, I'm proud to be a Democrat. I was born one, I have lived one, and I will die one. You know, there's an old soldier's song which ends with the words, "Old soldiers never die, they just fade away." I'm not going to fade away. This old soldier will show up for duty when the next Congress of the United States meets.
We have an opportunity to have someone who has a track record, who has proven performance, and not just promises. There's no question about those that have decided to run for this office. There's no question that they'll talk about a lot of different things and give a lot of promises, but they don't have a lot of meat and potatoes on their plate. And the last time I checked some of your plates, I saw a lot of meat and potatoes. And I think that's a good thing. But we need to stand together. We need to work together, because we have the opportunity not only to turn this state to a purple state, but to a blue state. And I know that's what we all want to do. And that's what we all are going to do. I also saw when I walked into the room, someone said, there are these many Democrats in Louisiana, just like the 5th Congressional District. You know, there are more Democrats in the 5th Congressional District than Republicans are in. However, they've gotten used to voting for Republicans because the individual that switched party and stayed 12 years, they voted for him. But there is a window of opportunity in the 5th Congressional District. There's no question about it. I want to take this opportunity to thank our outstanding chair, Karen Peterson, and also our guests who are here tonight. We certainly look forward to them being here and hearing from them, and all of you who are here tonight. But before I leave, I want all of you to stop by my good friend, Representative Robert Johnson, and just whisper in his ear, ask him if he would please help Jamie Mayo become the 5th Congressional District candidate. Thank you very much. May God continue to bless you and also keep you in his care. I do ask for your vote, your support, and also, most of all, your prayers. God bless you.
I have been privileged to be the Democratic caucus leader for 5 years. I will tell you that In my years at West Point and in the Army, they taught me that you have to lead every day and you have to fight when necessary. Well, let me tell you, when Bobby Jindal's your governor, you got to fight every day. And that's what we've been doing. And speaking of fighting, I want to pause for just a minute and ask everybody to remember tonight in your prayers all of our servicemen and servicewomen around the world who are in harm's way. Even as we speak here tonight in Louisiana, they're carrying on missions in Iraq that are of critical importance. So let's pray for them. Now, what have we been fighting for? We've been fighting for Louisiana values, Louisiana families. We've been fighting to put Louisiana first. And speaking of Louisiana families, I want to tell you, I've been coming here and buying a table for 10 years. Tonight's the first night that my entire family's been here. So my wife, Donna, and my 3 kids are here. I just want to thank you very much for being with me tonight. You know, we have been fighting to put Louisiana first and expand opportunity through education and job creation. And wouldn't it be great if the jobs we created and the jobs we already have paid a woman the same as it pays a man to do the same work? Instead of leading the nation and paying only 67 cents on the dollar, that's a disgrace. Wouldn't it be better if we created jobs where when people work for 40 hours, they didn't live in poverty? It's time that the living wage come to Louisiana and that we increase the minimum wage. And if they don't want to do it in Washington, we ought to do it in Baton Rouge. It's the right thing to do. It's time to give health insurance to 250,000 working poor in Louisiana because we're paying for it and because it's the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. So Senator Mary Landrieu, thank you. And we're going to keep fighting with you as we move through this process. Yes, it's time to put Louisiana first, not our selfish political ambition, not our party, not our philosophy, not out-of-state corporations. And by the way, did you know Bobby Jindal's in Iowa tonight? With all the problems we have in Louisiana, he's found his way to Iowa. Well, God bless him. Hopefully he's lining himself up something really nice to do in a couple of years, because he's not going to be our governor and he's not going to be our president. It's time that we have responsible budgeting in Louisiana, not these annual billion-dollar deficits. We've cut enough, we've closed enough, we've sold enough, we've privatized enough, we've hurt enough. Now we've got to start making government work again in Louisiana for ordinary people so that they can have a brighter tomorrow. Yes, we need leadership. We need leadership every day, not just when it's easy, not just when Bobby Jindal is at 35% in popularity like he is today. We need it when he was at 70% before. And for all those people who are going to ask you to give them control of state government next year, I just want to ask you, who was it that stood up and fought Bobby Jindal from the very beginning because what he was doing was wrong for the people of Louisiana? I'll tell you who it was. It was John Bel Edwards. So like I told you last year, I'm John Bel Edwards. I'm a Democrat, and I'm running for governor. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce to everyone tonight's Power Up speaker. Y'all remember that? Powered up. Oh man, I can't hear you. I mean, I know you've eaten, you've had a great dessert, you had some filet, you've had great bread pudding, but I need you to stay with me because we got a phenomenal program, second half of this program. I'm gonna try this again. Powered up. Exactly. Powered up and ready to win. Powered up and ready to win. She is a distinguished practitioner of law and public policy at UC Berkeley and a senior research fellow at Berkeley Energy and Climate Institute. She's also co-chair of Priorities USA Action, and that is a super PAC that is supporting who? Hillary Clinton for president in 2016, might I mention. You may remember her from her show on Current TV, The War Room with Jennifer Granholm. And from 2003 to 2011, she served as governor of the great state of Michigan, which was twice recognized by the Pew Institute and Center on the States as one of the best managed states in the nation when she was governor, not the one there now, FYI. Everyone, please put your hands together for none other than the former governor of Michigan, Jennifer Granholm.
I want to talk about you. And I want to talk about the importance of 2014 politically. We are in this incredible environment of pervasive cynicism, and maybe it's got a lot to do, Senator, as you know, with DC dysfunction. You know, there was a poll that was done recently by a polling firm who got so tired of polling Congress's approval rating, because it was in the single digits, that they started to compare Congress's approval rating to the approval rating of a bunch of unpleasant things. And they found that Congress's approval rating is in fact lower than the approval rating for lice, cockroaches, the band Nickelback. Who knew? Donald Trump, dog poop, whatever. But the good news is that at least it's better than meth labs, gonorrhea, and Charles Manson. So maybe there's something to work with. But it has not anything to do with Democrats. It has everything to do with the obstructionists on the other side. And you know, you know what I'm talking about, right? The top issue for all voters is what? According to all polls, what's the top issue? Jobs. Jobs. So Democrats, let's just focus on the facts for one moment. You know what they say, in God we trust, all others bring data. Well, here's some data you all need to have as you campaign across the state. So I did a little research on this. In fact, Bill Clinton raised this at the the Democratic convention last time. This is really important. So since 1961, the Republicans have controlled the White House for 28 years, since 1961. The Democrats have controlled the White House less, 26 years, so 2 years less. So the question is, since 1961, who's created the most jobs? In those 53 years, the economy has produced 68 million jobs. How many of those have been created under the Democrats? How many under Republicans? Now, you might listen to the Republicans and think they are God's gift to job creation. Well, get this. Of all of those jobs created, Republicans created 24 million of them, and Democrats created 44 million in less time. Democrats produced almost twice as many jobs in less time as the Republicans. Now, even if you compare President Obama's job creation numbers with President Bush's, same amount of time, you just take the exact same slice of their terms in office. Under President Bush, 1.5 million jobs were created. Under President Obama, you might think that it might not be all that different. 1.5 million under Bush, 4.5 million under Obama, and that includes what he inherited. So now we've had 46 straight months of job growth. I mean, it turns out that Democratic policies of opportunity and investing in people are actually right morally, and they're right economically. Right? Just tell them the facts. But nonetheless, the cynicism is still deep out there. And the pundits say about Louisiana, they say, you're as red as crawfish. That's it. There's no chance of winning Louisiana. But I'm calling, pardon my French, I'm calling BS on that. Just ask Mary Landrieu about that. Just ask Kathleen Blanco about that. With registration of our base and young voters in the next few years, you all are going to be turning Louisiana blue. You know, we are watching out there across the country. We are going to turn Louisiana blue. Now, this year you are underdogs. You are in a fight. In a fight, I'd rather be an underdog. Wouldn't you? You've got a better story. So it is time to suit up, Louisiana Dems, and take your state back. You have defied the odds before. Your odds are now better. Time to strap on your boots and do it again. Because between getting out
the vote and wooing some of those moderates, you can do this. Louisiana Democrats, suit up. This is our moment to be clear and to be proud of the contrast between us, to redefine the terms of the debate. We need you to suit up for battle, to pick up an oar and row if you can. Uncle Sam needs you. Strap on your tubas. Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, who I love dearly, she talks about having visited South Africa and having met with a South African bishop, and on the bishop's wall was this saying, was this prayer. And the prayer said, "When at last I stand before the face of God, God will say to me, 'Show me your wounds.' And if I have no wounds, God will ask, 'Was there nothing worth fighting for?'" Louisianans, I hope you are prepared to earn some battle scars on behalf of something or someone worth fighting for, on behalf of the whole family. Mary Landrieu's and Cedric Richmond's victory is important to the nation. Are you ready to earn some battle scars for them? Are you ready to enlist by the power vested in me as the former governor of Michigan? All right, I have no power, but I hereby declare you all conscripted into battle. Suit up on behalf of the family. Suit up on behalf of workers from Shreveport to New Orleans. Suit up on behalf of our nation. Suit up to fight for Mary Landrieu. Suit up on behalf of President Clinton in 2016. Let us go out and earn some battle scars. And at this time, I want to invite up to the stage our senior senator, senior U.S. Senator Mary Landrieu.
It's not easy, as you all know, running for any office. But to run for the United States Senate today, the minimum amount of money necessary to run, minimum, is $20 million. That's a lot of money. Together, we have to date raised almost 16. I've got to raise, with your help, another 4. Now, there'll be more money that comes into this race, but when I pick up the phone and when I call Jennifer Granholm or I call Ed Rendell and said, "Ed, can't you just introduce me to a few people that can help raise some money?" He's there, she is there. It takes a big family, as Karen has said, and as Governor Granholm has said, to get this job done for all of us. So I'm just going to say a few words and then introduce Ed Rendell, and I know that you all will be attentive. It's been a long night, but he has some very powerful words to share with us tonight. But I am happy to wake up early every day and stay up late every night and be away from my children and my grandson that I'd love to be with every day, and be away from my husband as well. Because the work that we do is important and it's bigger than us. It really makes a difference what happens in Washington, who runs the Senate, what bills go on the agenda, what votes we cast, what issues we speak about, and what bills are actually signed into law. It makes a difference to our everyday life. If you don't think that it's important to have levees that don't break, then you don't have to work too hard the next couple of weeks. If you don't think it's important to have Southern University and Grambling be strong, and LSU and Tech and USL, then don't worry about it. If you don't think it's important for people that have worked all their life to be able to count on that Social Security check and get it when they're 65 and not 70 like Bill Cassidy thinks, then don't worry about it. If you don't think that when people go to work and work hard, they should make more than $7.25 an hour, then don't worry about it. If you think the minimum wage needs to be raised, this is an important election. If you think that Medicare needs to be the way we know it and the way we understand it and not voucherized so that, you know, if you're rich and you've been successful, then you get great health care, and if you've just worked your whole life and paid your taxes and gone to church every week and raised your kids, but you didn't really make that much money, well, then you can have no security in your older years. If you think that's what we need to do, then this race isn't important. But I know how you feel, because I feel the same way that you do. I've spent so many hours and years working with you in the legislature and other offices here, and I've had the privilege and honor to represent this group in the United States Senate. I'm proud of our Democratic Party. We're going to fight hard to win, and yes, we're going to reach out to independents and to Republicans. I want you all to know that we're 48% of the registered voters. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but we are. And the independents in this state are 28%, and the Republicans are only 24%. Only 24%. So let us raise our voices, be proud of the work that we've done. Know that this is a winnable race, that we have raised the prerequisite amount of money to win, and we will do it. We can do it. I ran the first time with your help, and we won by 5,778 votes, but who's counting? But we held the seat against Woody Jenkins, who would have been in the Senate of the United States. Before Ted Cruz was in the Tea Party, Woody Jenkins invented the Tea Party, and he would have been representing us in the state during Katrina. Could you imagine Woody Jenkins and what he would have said, what he would have done, what he would have advocated for? We stood in the gap and made sure that that didn't happen. Then 4 years later, we won by 40,000. Then last time, 120,000. This time, we're going to win by more than 120,000. We've got to turn out 1.2 million votes. And Ed Rendell, as you come up here, we're not winning in December. We're winning in November. November 4th, we are going to turn out our base. If anyone knows how to turn out our base and how to fire us up, Ed Rendell, who started out as a prosecutor, became mayor of Philadelphia. Not an easy city, much like New Orleans, not an easy city to represent. Lots of people going in a lot of different directions. But I want to tell you what people said about Ed Rendell when he finished his term in Philadelphia. They said, quote, he served 2 terms as mayor. The New York Times said he called the renaissance of his city the most stunning turnaround in recent urban history, because this guy knows how to make government work. That's what we do as Democrats. We don't think government is a solution to every problem, but we do recognize its value, we appreciate it, and we know that government and the private sector can work to lift people up and to help create a larger middle class. And as Jennifer said, create millions of jobs for people. And I guess if you've had a job your whole life, you don't really realize what it feels like maybe to not have one. Or if you've had the luck all the time, you just don't feel like after you've gotten a master's degree and then you've put out your resume 50 times and nobody will hire you. Because Democrats believe that it's not just corporate America that makes this world work. It's not just international companies that make the rules. Government is for the people, by the people, and with our partners in the private sector, we can bring hope and, yes, joy and prosperity to everyone. Ed Rendell took Philadelphia and turned it around. And then he went on to be a very popular governor of Pennsylvania. And just like Bill Clinton and just like President Obama is trying to do, let me tell you about Bill Clinton when he was president. He took a large debt and he turned it into a surplus. And then he handed it over to the next president, who basically squandered it. Ed Rendell balanced his budget, and then it got squandered. Governor Blanco left with $1 billion surplus and turned it over, and Jindal squandered it. I don't need Republicans to talk to us about fiscal responsibility. We know how to manage the people's money. Ed Rendell was a tough prosecutor, a tough district attorney, an extraordinary mayor, and then he was governor of Pennsylvania. And he has been a sound voice for our party and chairman of the Democratic Party. Louisiana Democrats, we are so honored to have the chairman of the party with us tonight. He has been a voice for President Obama. He has been a voice for President Clinton, and I'm sure that he will be a voice for our next President Clinton. Would you all welcome Ed Rendell?
But I want to talk to you a little bit about something that I think is really important. As we face elections this year and elections that are important to you and the state of Louisiana next year, and elections all over the country, it's an interesting fact that we Democrats should win every election. In Louisiana, in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, we have 1 million more registered Democrats than Republicans. And yet we have a Republican governor, a Republican House of Representatives, a Republican state Senate. In Louisiana, you have 600,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans. And yet you don't have one elected statewide state official, and we fight uphill in every election. Well, why is that? People became Democrats and registered Democrat for one reason, really. It's the same reason you did if you look at it, because you believed the Democratic Party was the best vehicle to protect ordinary people, to give vulnerable people a chance, to create opportunity for people who never had it, to protect that safety net that's so important to our life and our society. And that's why we all became Democrats. But we forget that, or we sometimes shy away from talking about it. Ted Strickland, the governor of Ohio, had a great saying. He said, "I'm a golden rule Democrat. Do unto others as we would have others do unto us." Well, we don't talk about the things that made us Democrats in the first place. If you look at public opinion polls on every major issue, whether it's jobs, health care, whatever, people generally agree with us far more than they do the Republican Party. And yet we lose elections because we're afraid to say the things that we value and the things that we believe in. The Republicans have got us scared to talk about income inequality, even though income inequality is eating this country alive. Standard & Poor's, you all know what Standard & Poor's are. That's the rating agency. They just released a report 2 days ago, that said that the widening disparity in income in this country is causing the economy to slow down. Standard & Poor's closed their report by saying that this idea that a rising tide lifts all boats and that trickle-down economics works makes no sense. They said when there are a few people in a lifeboat and they're surrounded by many who are treading water desperately, there's a real risk of that boat capsizing. And this income disparity, in the end, is not going to be good for the rich people in this country. Let's take a look at income disparity, and why aren't we talking about it? In this country, the top 20% wage earners in America have 84% of the wealth and assets in this country. The bottom 80% have 16% of the wealth of the country. The Walton clan, the Walton family, the extended Walton family, has more wealth and assets than 125 million Americans. The top 400 richest Americans have more wealth and assets than 150 million, about half of us. Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who's a great man and gives a lot of money away, and I don't mean this to be critical of the mayor, but if Mayor Bloomberg spent $10,000 a day, anybody have any idea when he'd run out of money, assuming he didn't get any more interest on his holdings, assuming he didn't make another dime, anybody have any idea when he'll run out of money? The year 10,500. That's if he spends $10,000 a day. Last year, Warren Buffett, another good man, Warren Buffett made $1.5 million every hour. Every hour. Do you think there's something wrong with that picture? Of course there is. And we can't even raise the minimum wage. We should be hammering minimum wage over and over again. 63% of Americans believe the minimum wage should be raised. That should be our #1 issue. Unemployment compensation. Is there any reason that people who are out there struggling hard to find a job have their unemployment compensation cut off when the tax code favors people making $1.5 million an hour? Of course not. We should be talking about that issue. because it's your friends and neighbors. The Republicans are attacking food stamps and LIHEAP. Who do you think uses food stamps? It used to be that food stamps were only used by the very poor. Pennsylvania is a state of 12.5 million people, and 1.2 million are on food stamps. And it's no longer the people on welfare. Food stamps are available to people who work, and it's working people who need food stamps. It's working people who need the Medicaid expansion. The poorest of the poor are covered, but it's people who work for a living and can't get health care. Mary Landrieu has the guts to say she voted for the ACA, and she's proud of her vote. And she should be proud of her vote. It is a disgrace that the United States of America, the richest country in the world, is the only developed nation that doesn't guarantee health care to its citizens. And the Affordable Care Act is going to eliminate that disparity once and for all. And think about it for a second. For those of you hear attacks on ACA, and that's going to be an issue in Mary's race and an issue in the congressional races. Well, think about it for a second. Ask people who are attacking the Affordable Care Act, do they want to go back to the old system? The old system where if you were sick, you couldn't get health care because you had a pre-existing illness. The old system where if you had a lot of health care needs and you spent too much money, they could cap you and no longer give you health care. The old system where seniors had no way of paying for the gap in their prescription drug coverage. The old system where you couldn't keep your kids on your own plan if they were still living in your house. Do we want to go back to the old system? Of course not. Of course not. The Affordable Care Act will, before it's done, give health care to almost 35 million Americans who didn't have it before. And think for just a minute. I don't know if there are people in the audience who at some time in their life didn't have health care, but think about not having health care, and your 5-year-old daughter gets sick, and you bring her into the hospital and they diagnose her. You bring her to an emergency room, and they tell you that she has pediatric leukemia, which today is 90% treatable if you can get the right treatment, 90% curable. But you can't afford the right treatment. How would you feel? Should any person living in the richest country in the world face that dilemma? Of course not. Of course not. We should talk about it. The ACA has problems, as Mary said, and we should be about fixing those problems. But stand up and fight for it, because when you try to run from it, it winds up biting you. Well, one day when I was DNC chair, I came back to Philadelphia for a funeral, and I was walking towards the funeral home, and this young woman pushing a little baby. She looked like she was about 24, 25. She was a young African-American woman, and she was pushing the baby in a stroller towards me. It wasn't a baby. I think it was about 2 years old. And she stopped me, and she said, "Mayor Rendell, thanks for building all those hotels downtown." And I was a little surprised, because you don't hear that in the neighborhoods that often. And she saw that I was surprised, and she said, "Oh," she said, "Mayor, I work for Lowe's, the best hotel corporation in America." And I could see the pride in her eyes about working for a great hotel corporation. And then she pointed down to her little daughter, and she said, "In the first time in her life, I've been able to take care of her without anybody's help." That's what government, well-planned and well-designed, can do. So my message to you tonight, is be proud that we're Democrats. Be proud that we care about taking care of people. Be proud that we want to do something about the horrible inequality in income that's eating this country alive. Be proud that we want to give health care to all of our people. Tell your voters, tell your constituents what it is we want to do and what separates us from them. And then get out there and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. There are worse things than losing an election. And when you get out there and you campaign with all your heart and soul, and you're not worried about losing, you're worried about just the things you want to get done, you know what happens? You win. Thank you.
Let me just say that what we heard tonight was a very consistent theme. And that's the fact that we should take pride in the fact that we're fighting every day for the soul of our country. And we do it because it's the right thing to do. We do it because that's the way we were raised. We do it because we want to make the world a better place for our neighbors. We want to create a world where every child has the opportunity to be great, because that's what we believe and that's how we were raised. And we talked about how the pendulum sometimes swings Democrat and sometimes it swings Republican. And it was swinging Republican for a while, and it's starting to swing back. And it's starting to swing back because people are starting to realize that they can't believe the hypocritical rhetoric coming out of the Republican Party. And I'll just give you one example that we talk about all the time in D.C. The Republicans scream pro-life until the baby's born. And then when the baby's born, they want to cut pre-K, they want to cut Head Start, they want to cut Medicaid, they want to cut all of the funding that would give that child the same opportunity that their children have. And let me just, since I'm up here, give you an example of last week. Last week we had an argument about the unaccompanied minors coming to our borders. And they said, we're going to send more National Guard and more police to the borders. The kids aren't running from the police. They're running to the police. They're running and they're seeking refuge from a violent place. So their answer was, we're going to do this bill that allows the kid to self-deport. Now, in committee, I was asking them, I said, you don't let your 7-year-old go to the zoo on a field trip without a parental permission slip. Your 13-year-old can't go see a PG-13 movie without an adult. But you're going to let a 7-year-old make a decision to go back to the most violent city in the world just because it saves you $1. You shouldn't be worried about how we govern this country. You should be worried about going to hell. But that's just me. So, with that, I will just say, and Governor, you mentioned bragging about the things we do because it's the right thing. About a month ago, I was in Baton Rouge with Congressman Clyburn, who was the former majority whip and now the assistant leader, and we were signing books at Louisiana Leadership Institute. And while he was signing books, a lady came up, she said, oh, my son would like to tell you all something. And, you know, I thought he was going to say something like, Cedric, oh, you did a great job in the congressional baseball game, or something light-hearted. The kid said, I want to thank you. We said, for what? He said, I want to thank you for passing the Affordable Care Act, because I've had 3 open-heart surgeries. And but for the Affordable Care Act, they would have stopped me after 2. And I don't know if I would be here today. So what we're doing affects real lives all the time. And we should be proud of the fact that we have the courage to do what's right even when it's not popular. So I want to thank that kid for reminding me why we do what we do. It's because we understand the importance of health care. And I'll just close with this. The gender gap, the Cassidy gap, whatever we want to call it, what it is the climax of foolishness. When you think about the 252,000 people that wake up every day and go to work but still don't have health care, you have to ask yourself, is this what makes our country exceptional? It's not. The difference becomes, instead of a kid looking out in the audience at graduation and seeing his parents, or visiting a graveyard to pray with his family. We have so many illnesses in this country that can very easily be cured with early detection. My mother, a school teacher for 30 years, was diagnosed with breast cancer 22 years ago. She had health care because she was a school teacher. And I am blessed today that I can go home and hug my mother and call her and talk to my mother and have her call me and tell me She called me the other day. She said, Cedric, this is the last time I'm going to say Congress is doing a good job. So your approval rating is going to dip under the 8% that it's at. But because we have health care, I get to talk to my mother. And we should run out, we should talk about it, we should scream about it, because we are right, and in the years to come, people will understand that. So I am asking everyone in here to make sure that you go out and vote this election cycle, because it's important. And a lot of times we say, vote like your life depends on it. Well, guess what? It's true. Vote like your life depends on it. And I'm asking you for your vote and your support in the 2nd Congressional District. I'm asking you to support our senior Senator Mary Landrieu, and I'll just give you this last number and I will get off the stage. Just in the 2nd Congressional District, there are over 100,000 people who voted for the president in 2012 that didn't vote in 2010. Over 100,000 people. If we just find half of them and encourage them to come back out, and I'm talking about 100,000 Democrats, if we just find them and talk to them and explain to them the importance of coming out to vote, then we will not have a close race. We will win in November. We will win on the first ballot, and we will send a message to the state that we understand what's important, we understand what's true, and we know the values that our country stands for, and that's what I'm asking you to do. So thank you, God bless, and have a good night.
The message is to get powered up and to remember what's important in the election cycle and why we're Democrats. There's some core principles and values that distinguish us from the other side, quite honestly. Affordable health care, opportunity and access to affordable education. Some of those things are very simple. I mean, there are folks on the other side that say, you know, we don't want to put money and invest money in early childhood education. We'll send that back to Washington. We don't want to invest in high-speed rail. We'll send that money back to Washington. We don't want to invest in jobs and in industry for our folks here in Louisiana. We don't believe that. We think that folks deserve an opportunity for a leg up. Everybody's not born equally, but we believe that everybody should have an opportunity to work hard, get a good education, take care of themselves and their families, and that's what Democrats are about, and so we're here to celebrate that.
Yeah, what is the main message tonight?
Well, for me, it's of course running for re-election and asking Democrats, Republicans, and independents to join and vote for me for re-election. The seniority that I'm able to have in the Senate really doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the people of our state. Why would we want to give up the gavel of the Energy Committee to someone else? Why would we want to give up the gavel of the Homeland Security Committee to some other state? So that's my message about delivering for the state, putting the people of this state first, building levees that don't break, schools that work, hospitals that welcome everyone for an affordable, quality health care. And so that's what I'm running on, and I feel very good, very positive about it.